Buddha's way transforms suffering into strength. In this human journey, suffering is unavoidable, yet through the timeless wisdom of the Buddha, pain no longer has to be a burden. Instead, it becomes the raw material that forges resilience and inner strength. The Dharma journey is a quiet space where each step brings you closer to the Buddha's teachings, a path that invites you to look deeply into your suffering, to hold it with compassion, and to grow stronger and freer every day. If you're ready to return to yourself, to discover the true strength that arises from compassion and insight, then join the Dharma journey. Together, we'll walk the Buddha's way and learn how to turn suffering into a limitless source of courage and love. Suffering is a truth, not a punishment. The Buddha began the Four Noble Truths with the first truth, the truth of suffering. Many people, when they hear this for the first time, furrow their brows and ask, why start with suffering? Isn't that too pessimistic? Why not begin with joy, happiness, or love? But if you look deeply, you'll see, a true teacher isn't someone who paints life in bright colors just to make you feel good. A true teacher dares to point at the wound you've been trying so hard to cover up. The Buddha saw suffering flowing through every corner of life, from kings and queens to beggars on the street, from youth to old age, from the first breath to the final exhale. No one is untouched by it. But he didn't judge it. He didn't threaten or punish anyone because of it. He simply showed us this: suffering is not a punishment. It's just a truth. And like any truth, you can try to run from it, deny it, paint over it with false optimism, but it will still be there, waiting at your doorstep, knocking at the most unexpected moments. The Buddha taught us to look directly at suffering, not to drown in despair, but to begin to heal. Because to heal, we first have to see the wound clearly. No one can treat a wound if they won't peel back the old bandage. No one can wash away the dirt if they won't touch the tender spot. The truth of suffering is the first step toward wisdom. It's that quiet moment when you say to yourself, yes, I am hurting. And in that single moment of honesty, something softens inside you. You no longer have to pretend to be okay. You no longer need to compare yourself to perfect snapshots of other people's lives. You no longer feel ashamed of your tears. You simply sit down, take a slow breath, and whisper to yourself. This pain is not a sentence. It doesn't make me less than anyone else. It simply reminds me that I'm alive. When you look deeper into your suffering, you start to see the invisible threads that keep it alive: craving, clinging, ignorance. These are the things we feed every day without realizing it. We keep layering comforts on top: money, status, praise, relationships. But the more we cling, the more we fear losing. And the more we fear, the deeper the suffering grows. One day, you find yourself exhausted, tired of carrying so much and still feeling empty. That's when the Buddha's words reach you: look deeply. You can't get rid of suffering by running from it, only by understanding its roots. And once you understand, you start to untangle it. You see what can be released. You learn to accept what can't be changed. You cherish what you have, knowing it, too, will change, fade, or be lost one day. Suffering, once understood, is no longer an open wound that bleeds day after day. It becomes a lesson, a path, a raw material that shapes your patience, sharpens your wisdom, and opens your heart to compassion. Nobody wants pain. But ask yourself, if life were nothing but comfort, would you really understand others? If you never stumbled and fell, would you know how to gently help someone else up? If you never lost anything, would you know how precious this moment truly is? That's why the Buddha didn't promise to erase suffering. He showed us how to understand it, and how to go beyond it through our own inner strength. He didn't give us magic. He gave us a map. The journey, though, is ours to walk. Some might ask, is there no way to never suffer? The answer is, there's no way to never feel pain, but there is a way not to suffer because of it. Pain belongs to the body. Suffering is what the mind adds on top. The body will age, fall sick, break down. But the mind, if trained, can hold pain without letting it poison the heart. A wise person doesn't deny pain. They don't let it swallow them either. They know, suffering, like all things, passes. Even in the darkest moments, a path appears. When you pause, breathe slowly, and ask yourself, what am I clinging to? What can I set down today? Suffering, if you look at it closely, is part of what makes life beautiful. Like shadows that make light shine brighter. Like winter that makes you grateful for spring. We will all face storms inside, nights so long we wonder if dawn will ever come. But never forget, night always ends. And every wound, if treated with enough care and patience, becomes a doorway, leading you deeper into understanding and a love that holds the world gently. Suffering is a truth, not a punishment. The one who sees this has already taken the first steps toward real freedom. And that freedom cannot be given to you by anyone else. It is born within you, in the courage to face your pain. In the willingness to sit beside it like an old friend, in the quiet strength to stand back up and keep walking with a softer heart. So go gently. There's no rush. Each day, find a little more courage to look deeply, a little more honesty to stop lying to yourself, a little more patience to stay with your pain, just as you would sit beside a weary friend. Then you'll see, there's nothing so terrible you can't face. No wound that cannot heal, if you stop pouring fear and resistance into it. Suffering is truth, and on the other side of it is another truth. The mind, when cared for, is as wide as the sky. And this sky is big enough to hold every passing cloud, without clinging. Without fear, without blame. And when you see this for yourself, every wound can become a doorway leading you home, to peace, to freedom, to a love deeper than any pain could ever take away. Understanding suffering is your first strength. When you understand why you're in pain, that pain loses its power to control you. When you see where your suffering comes from, how it grows, how it clings, you hold the key to free yourself. This is why the Buddha taught us to start not with escape, but with understanding. To turn and face the ache instead of running from it. Because only when you see something clearly can you decide what to do with it. Most of us spend our lives trying to outrun pain. We build walls around it. We cover it up with busyness, with noise, with distractions, with work, with relationships, with 1,000 things that help us look away. But no matter how far we run, the pain follows. It waits behind every quiet moment, in the middle of the night, in the silence after an argument, in the hollow feeling when the excitement fades. So the Buddha's invitation was simple but brave. Stop running. Sit down. Breathe. Look at it. Ask yourself, where does this suffering come from? Is it from wanting something I can't have? From fearing something I can't control? From holding on to an idea of how life should be, instead of seeing how it really is? Most pain, when we look deeply, comes not from life itself but from the stories we build around it. The demands we make of it. The refusal to let things be what they are. The Buddha never said life would be free of pain. He said suffering is woven into the very fabric of life: birth, aging, sickness, death, change, loss, uncertainty. But he also said, if you understand the root, you can stop feeding it. When you stop feeding it, you stop being ruled by it. This is the first freedom. It sounds simple, understand your suffering, but it asks for great honesty. It means sitting with feelings that make you squirm. It means noticing the things you blame others for, and turning the light back on yourself. It means asking, what am I clinging to so tightly that it hurts this much to lose? You might discover you're clinging to old stories of who you think you should be. Or to old wounds that you keep alive by picking at them. Or to people who have already drifted away. Or to a version of life that never really existed outside your mind. And in seeing this clearly, you take your power back. You realize that suffering doesn't own you. It doesn't define you. It doesn't get to make you bitter or helpless, unless you let it. When you know why you suffer, you begin to see how to loosen its grip. You can meet your pain like a wise friend, not a cruel enemy. You can hold it gently, breathe with it, ask what it needs to say, and then decide what stays and what you can let go. Understanding transforms fear into courage. It transforms confusion into clarity. It transforms helplessness into gentle, steady power. When you understand suffering, you no longer waste your days blaming the world for your hurt. You don't beg life to be different. Instead, you see life as it is, always changing, never fully in your hands, and you find a softer way to live inside it. Understanding suffering doesn't mean you won't feel pain. It means pain won't break you open in the same old ways. It won't blindside you. It won't turn you cold. Instead, each time it comes, you'll know where it's pointing, back to the places that still need your care, your truthfulness, your willingness to release what no longer fits. Bit by bit, you turn suffering into your teacher. It stops being a prison. It becomes a doorway. This is the heart of the path. Understand suffering, master suffering, go beyond suffering. When you understand it, you stop feeding it. When you stop feeding it, you stop being its victim. When you're no longer its victim, you stand free, able to meet life's storms without being swept away. Freedom doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply, but you don't drown. You love, but you don't cling. You lose, but you don't crumble. You ache, but you don't lose your way. And each time life tests you, you smile a little softer, because you know you can sit with anything now. If you're hurting today, pause for a moment. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, where is this coming from? What is this trying to teach me? Sit with your pain like you'd sit with a scared child. Don't push it away. Don't yell at it. Just listen. Hold it. Watch what it does. And see if it's pointing you somewhere, toward a truth you've avoided, a habit that needs to change, an old chain you're finally strong enough to break. This is your strength. Not the strength of denial, not the strength of pretending to be untouchable, but the quiet, honest strength of someone who sees clearly and chooses wisely. The world will keep changing. Loss and gain, praise and blame, birth and death, all will come and go. But the one who understands suffering stands steady in the middle of it all, awake, kind, and free. Mindfulness, a way out of confusion. Maybe all of us have felt this at some point, a wave of sadness that suddenly crashes over us, and we sit there, helpless, as it swallows us whole. A burst of anger that flares up and drags us along, making us do or say things we regret later. A nameless anxiety that wraps itself around our chest, keeping us wide awake at night, heart pounding. Mind spinning in circles that never seem to end. Living in confusion feels just like that. Negative emotions come and go like waves in a restless sea, and we, caught in them, get pulled wherever they want to take us. But somewhere in this vast ocean of drifting and drowning, the Buddha left us a small, steady light, mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't something lofty or out of reach. It isn't reserved for monks sitting cross-legged in distant mountain temples. Mindfulness is here, as close as your next breath, your next step. The quiet beat of your heart that never stops working for you. Mindfulness is the simple but profound ability to know exactly what's happening while it's happening, without judging it. Without labeling it good or bad, without getting swept away by it. When you're sad, mindfulness lets you notice, I'm feeling sad. When you're angry, mindfulness whispers, anger is here. When you're anxious, mindfulness gently says, I see this worry showing up. It might sound too simple, just knowing, but this knowing is what marks the line between confusion and clarity. Because when you know, you're no longer fused with the emotion. You're not the anger anymore. You're not the fear. You're not the helpless victim of your own suffering. You are the awake witness watching the storm pass by. Practicing mindfulness won't make the waves disappear overnight. The waves will still come, but you become the solid shore. The waves crash in. And then they recede. You remain steady, unshaken. In the beginning, mindfulness feels as fragile as a small candle flickering in the wind. A single wave of sadness or anger can easily blow it out. But if you keep lighting it again and again, with one conscious breath, one slow step, one quiet pause in your busy day, that candle grows stronger. Its flame becomes bright enough to guide you through the longest nights. Some people ask, how can I be mindful when I have so many worries, so many things to do? But mindfulness doesn't ask you to drop everything. It just gently invites you to come back to what's here now. Washing the dishes, know you're washing the dishes. Eating your meal, know you're chewing, tasting, swallowing. Listening to someone speak, know you're really listening, instead of drifting somewhere else in your head. In these small moments, mindfulness slips in like a cool breeze. It reminds you to pause. To touch the life that's happening right under your feet. And slowly, you notice, anger doesn't explode as fiercely as it used to. Sadness doesn't trap you for days on end. Worries, when seen clearly, melt away like mist when the sun comes up. Mindfulness is not some magic escape from life. It's the anchor that keeps you steady when everything around you shifts and changes. You'll still feel sad, still get angry, still worry, but they can't drown you anymore. You become the wide open sky, and your emotions are just passing clouds. As long as we're alive, we'll feel things. But we get to choose whether our feelings steer our lives or whether we can simply sit down. Take a slow breath, and watch them drift by. Mindfulness teaches us how to live with suffering instead of fighting it or running away. It reminds us that suffering is part of the path to waking up. Every time we dare to look it in the face, we peel away a little confusion and find a little more light inside. No one wakes up in one night. But every mindful breath, every mindful step, every small moment of coming back to here and now is a seed you plant in the soil of your own heart. One day, in the middle of a stormy moment, you might smile softly to yourself, "Ah, anger is here. Hello, anger. I see you." And just like a child who stops crying when it feels seen and held, your anger will soften too. Mindfulness doesn't promise that you'll never feel pain again. But it gives you clear eyes to see where your pain comes from. It teaches you to place a gentle hand on your heart and whisper, "This too will pass." And when suffering is no longer a huge shadow looming over everything, you'll notice something beautiful, beneath all the waves, all the noise, all the storms, there is always a quiet place inside you that has never been touched. Start small, one slow breath, one mindful sip of tea. One unhurried walk with your mind right here with your feet. That's all it takes to plant a seed of mindfulness in the garden of your mind. One day, when the big waves crash in again, you'll realize you're no longer the helpless victim swept away. You're the one standing at the shore, watching the waves come and go, your heart calm as a quiet lake at dawn. Non-resistance, the first step to transformation. The more we fight our suffering, the more it fights back. The tighter we grip, the tighter it grips us in return. It's a strange truth about being human. We believe that if we resist hard enough, deny hard enough, distract ourselves long enough, we can make pain disappear. But pain doesn't disappear just because we pretend it's not there. The Buddha knew this well. He taught us a simple, powerful truth: look at it. Accept it. And then you will move beyond it. At first, this sounds impossible. Accept pain. Who wants to accept sadness, fear, anger, or loss? Everything inside us wants to push it away, to numb it, bury it, drown it out with busyness, noise, or pleasure. But when we push suffering down, it doesn't dissolve, it waits. It hides in the shadows of our mind, growing heavier and darker, until one day it rises up bigger than before. Non-resistance doesn't mean you like the pain. It doesn't mean you want to stay stuck in it. It means you're brave enough to stop pretending it isn't there. You stop wrestling with the wave, and instead, you learn to float. When you stop resisting, you stop feeding the storm. You open the door for understanding, for healing, for freedom. Think of a wound on your skin. If you keep picking at it, covering it up, pretending it doesn't hurt, it festers. But if you clean it gently, leave it open to breathe, it can begin to heal. Your heart works the same way. Most of the time, our resistance shows up as thoughts: this shouldn't be happening to me. I shouldn't feel this way. I should be stronger. Life shouldn't be so unfair. We argue with reality, hoping it will bend to our wishes. But reality doesn't argue back, it just keeps being what it is. So the Buddha's invitation is simple: drop the fight. Breathe. Feel what's here. Let it speak. When you say yes to your pain, you don't become weak, you become free. You become the watcher, the witness, the kind friend sitting beside a hurting part of you. Suddenly, you're no longer trapped inside the feeling. There's space around it. A soft, quiet space where you can just be. In that space, transformation begins. Sadness softens when it feels seen. Anger cools when you stop pouring more fuel on the fire. Fear loosens when you sit beside it like a calm friend instead of a terrified prisoner. Over time, you realize pain is just pain, but the suffering that grows on top of it comes from our resistance. The pushing, the denying, the wishing for things to be different, these add layers of misery that weigh us down more than the pain itself. When you practice non-resistance, you become like a tree in the wind. Storms come and shake your branches, but your roots hold firm. You sway, you bend, but you don't break. This is not passive weakness. This is active courage, the quiet, strong courage to sit with what is real. Of course, the mind will rebel at first. It will say, if I accept this pain, won't it stay forever? But look closer, it's the opposite. What we resist persists. What we accept transforms. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's giving space. It's dropping the useless struggle so you have energy left to care for what hurts. Sometimes, the only thing you need is to sit down, breathe deeply, and whisper to yourself, yes, this is here. I don't have to like it. But I don't have to fight it anymore. In that moment, something inside you relaxes. The tightness loosens. The mind softens its grip. And suddenly, you can see new choices, a small step forward, a gentle action. A kind word to yourself, things you couldn't see while you were busy resisting. The Buddha's wisdom is timeless, look at it. Accept it. Then go beyond. The going beyond comes naturally when resistance drops away. The storm passes, the wound closes, the lesson stays, and you walk lighter than before. This doesn't mean suffering vanishes forever. Life will still bring its share of loss, sorrow, and change. But each time pain visits, you remember, you don't have to wrestle with it anymore. You greet it like an old teacher, sit with it. Listen, and let it move through you. One breath at a time, one moment at a time, non-resistance becomes a new habit. You stop running. You stop fighting shadows. You stand quietly, with your eyes open to what is real, and in that seeing, you reclaim your power. So if you find yourself in pain today, ask gently, what would happen if I stopped pushing this away? What if I just let myself feel it, without adding stories or blame? Then sit. Breathe. Notice the fear, the tightness, the longing, and know, you are not any of these things. You are the one witnessing them. In that witness, in that calm knowing, the storm loses its power. And you stand in the clear light of what's true. You are not here to fight your life, you are here to live it, to feel it fully, and to walk through it with a heart wide enough to hold both joy and sorrow. Non-resistance is not the end of your journey. It's the first door you open on the path to freedom. The step that says, I'm done running. I'm ready to see. I'm ready to transform. And when you take that step, even the deepest pain can lead you home. From suffering blooms the lotus, a lesson from within. Have you ever looked closely at a lotus flower? So pure, so calm. So serene, a symbol of beauty, peace, and awakening. But if you look deeper, you'll see this quiet truth: the lotus never grows from clear, clean water. It pushes up through the thickest, darkest mud. It finds its strength in the dirt that others might call ugly, unwanted, impure. This is the story the Buddha reminds us of, again and again. Your pain is not the enemy. Your suffering is not proof that you're failing. It's the rich, messy mud that feeds your deepest wisdom, your quietest strength, and your most open-hearted compassion. No one wants the mud. We want the flower, the calm mind, the peaceful heart, the freedom from fear and regret. But we forget that the flower and the mud are not separate things. One cannot be without the other. A person who's never tasted sorrow rarely understands deep kindness. A heart that has never been broken doesn't know how to hold the brokenness of others. The ones who shine the gentlest light are often those who have sat in their own darkness, trembling, wondering if dawn would ever come. Your suffering can crush you, or it can become the soil where something beautiful takes root. The difference lies in how you hold it, how you meet it, how you choose to grow through it. At first, pain feels pointless. Why me? Why this? The mind looks for someone to blame: yourself, others, life, fate. But blame keeps you stuck in the mud without learning how to rise through it. The lotus does not curse the mud. It accepts it. It uses it. It draws its nutrients from what it touches. Every thick layer of silt becomes food for its roots, strength for its stem, color for its petals. In the same way, your fear can teach you courage. Your mistakes can teach you humility. Your grief can teach you what truly matters, what endures when all else falls away. But first, you must stop resenting the mud. Stop pretending your life should be spotless, your mind always clear, your path always easy. It was never meant to be that way. Look at the people you admire most, not for their fame or wealth, but for their warmth, their depth, their quiet wisdom. Ask them their stories, and you'll hear of heartbreak, failures, losses they thought they wouldn't survive. Yet here they are, blooming, not despite their suffering, but because of how they chose to sit with it, learn from it, rise through it. The Buddha never promised us a life without sorrow. He showed us that even in sorrow, there's a path to freedom. Even in darkness, there's a seed of light, if you dare to tend it with patience and care. Think of your own life. The days that hurt the most often taught you the lessons that still guide you now. The nights that felt endless gave you a softness you might never have found if life had only been gentle. The moments you thought would break you open left behind a spaciousness for love to grow deeper than ever before. This is how the lotus blooms, in your heart, in your mind. It doesn't bloom because the mud goes away. It blooms because you no longer fear the mud. You see it. You touch it. You bow to it. You say, "Thank you for showing me where I'm still clinging. Where I'm still blind, where I still hold back my own light." And then you use it. You let every drop of it feed the roots of your patience, your wisdom, your compassion for others who are still stuck in their own darkness. If you've suffered, you know how it feels to be alone with your pain. So when you see someone else hurting, you don't turn away. You don't judge them for struggling. You sit beside them, quietly, maybe without a single word, but they feel your presence, the warmth that says, "I know. I've been in the mud too. You're not alone." This is how the world slowly heals, not through perfect people living perfect lives, but through ordinary hearts that have learned how to grow something beautiful from the mess. So if you're hurting today, don't rush to scrub it away. Don't cover it up with false smiles. Sit with it. Listen. Ask it what it wants to teach you. Maybe it wants to show you your strength, a strength you forgot you had. Maybe it wants to open your eyes to how fleeting this life is, so you cherish it more tenderly. Maybe it wants to break something old inside you so something truer can take its place. The mud isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your blooming. Keep breathing. Keep showing up for your own heart, even when it's heavy. Trust that every step through the mud is feeding the roots of something soft and strong that will rise when the time is right. One day, you'll look back and see, the lotus was always there, waiting inside you. All it needed was the courage to stand in the mud, to draw what it needed from your darkest nights. To reach for the sun again and again, until it opened, quiet and calm, above the water's surface. And when it does, you'll understand. Your pain did not make you smaller. It grew you into someone wide enough to hold the whole world with kindness. Out of suffering comes compassion, compassion softens everything. Have you ever noticed? Those who have suffered deeply often carry a softness in their eyes that no one can fake. A gentle warmth in the way they speak, the way they listen. The way they sit quietly beside another hurting soul. This is one of life's paradoxes. The pain you wish had never touched you can become the very thing that opens your heart the widest. The moments that broke you can be the soil where compassion takes root, real compassion, the kind that doesn't judge, doesn't preach, doesn't look away when things get messy. It's easy to talk about compassion when life is easy. It's another thing to feel it, deeply, when you know what it means to ache. The Buddha saw this truth long ago. He knew that suffering, dukkha, is woven into the fabric of our existence. Birth, aging, illness, death, disappointment, loss, uncertainty, these come for us all. But he also knew this. Suffering doesn't have to make you bitter. It can make you tender. It can break open the hard shell of the ego, the part that says, only I matter. My pain is worse than yours. When you suffer and see through it, you begin to see that everyone carries their own hidden wounds, just like you. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, how can I hold this, and still stay open? This is the heart of true compassion. Not pity. Not empty words. But a lived, quiet knowing that says, I've been there too. I see you. You are not alone. Out of suffering comes compassion, and out of compassion comes the power to heal. When you touch your own pain honestly, you stop turning away from the pain of others. You stop blaming, comparing, dismissing. You start to listen. Really listen, to the grief behind harsh words, to the fear behind anger, to the loneliness behind indifference. You see a stranger lose their temper and instead of judging, you wonder, what burden are they carrying today? What wound is asking for care? Of course. This doesn't mean you let people walk over you. Compassion doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you accept harm or injustice. It means you respond with clarity and strength, but without hatred poisoning your own heart. Think of someone who once sat beside you in your hardest moment. Maybe they didn't have any answers. Maybe they just listened. Maybe they held your hand, or just stayed near so you wouldn't feel so alone. What did that moment do for you? How did it soften your pain, even if only a little? That's the quiet power of compassion born from suffering. It doesn't always fix what hurts, but it reminds us that even the darkest night feels warmer when someone else is there, holding a small light with you. Your pain can become that light for someone else. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just the way you sit with your own children when they're sad, without rushing them to be okay. Sometimes it's how you listen to a friend's heartbreak, without offering easy answers or distractions. Sometimes it's the way you smile at a stranger who looks like they've forgotten how to smile at themselves. Bit by bit, the pain you carried softens you, and your softness softens the world. The more you suffer and survive, the more you learn that everyone is walking their own hard road. You stop demanding perfection, from yourself, from others, from life. You forgive more easily. You understand more quickly. You hold space for people to be messy, lost, human. And each time you do that, something beautiful happens inside you. The wall around your heart grows thinner. The seeds of kindness and patience grow stronger roots. Suffering is not something we seek out. No one wakes up hoping for heartbreak or loss. But when life inevitably brings us to our knees, we can choose, will this close me off, or open me wider than before? The Buddha taught that compassion is not just a feeling. It's a practice. It's a living, breathing choice to keep your heart open, especially when it would be easier to shut it down. It's the decision to meet pain, not with more pain, but with presence. To meet anger, not with more anger, but with understanding. To meet cruelty, not with blind surrender, but with a strength that refuses to become cruel in return. Real compassion changes you. It matures you. It humbles you. It makes you softer and stronger at the same time. The lotus blooms in the mud. And from the mud of your sorrow, compassion grows, wide enough to hold your own pain. And the pain of the world. If you are suffering now, don't rush to cover it up. Sit with it. Learn from it. Let it teach you what it came to teach. Let it break open what needs to be broken. Let it soften what has grown too rigid. And then, when you meet another hurting soul, you won't need fancy words. Your presence alone will say, I know. I've been there too. And you are not alone. This is how suffering transforms. This is how compassion softens everything. One honest heart at a time. One small act of kindness at a time. One brave, open moment at a time. And slowly, gently, the world becomes a little less cold, because you had the courage to let your own pain become a bridge, not a wall. The Noble Eightfold Path, a clear way out. When we're in pain, the mind races for an escape. We chase pleasures, distractions, anything to numb the ache, even for a while. But temporary comforts wear off, old patterns return. And the same suffering waits for us like an old shadow. The Buddha understood this cycle deeply. He didn't just say, life is suffering. He showed us how to walk through it, how to face it, understand it, and gradually free ourselves from it. He left us not just a truth but a path, the Noble Eightfold Path, a guide to live by, a map for the restless heart. This path isn't about dogma or blind faith. It's a practical way to live more clearly, more kindly, more awake. It's not meant to be mastered overnight, it's a lifelong practice, step by step. Breath by breath. It begins with right view. Right view means seeing things as they really are, not through the fog of fear, anger, or wishful thinking. It means understanding that everything changes, that clinging brings suffering, and that our thoughts, words, and actions shape our future. Right view clears the lens. When you see clearly, you stop blaming life or other people for your pain. You see the causes, and you see that you can choose a different way. Then comes right intention. This is the quiet decision in your heart. To live with goodwill instead of ill will, with compassion instead of cruelty, with contentment instead of greed. Intentions are seeds. When you plant seeds of kindness in your thoughts, they bloom into kind words and actions. When your intention is bitter, even good deeds can carry hidden harm. Right speech flows from this. Words are powerful. They can lift people up or cut them down. Right speech means using words with care, speaking the truth, speaking gently, not gossiping, not lying. Not wasting breath on words that only cause more confusion. Sometimes right speech means saying nothing. Sometimes it means telling a hard truth kindly, at the right moment. With a mind that wishes to help, not hurt. Next is right action. This is how you show up in the world. It means choosing actions that do not harm, not killing, not stealing. Not abusing trust or using others for your own gain. Right action isn't about moral perfection. It's about living in a way that you can stand behind. A life that brings no regret when you're alone with your own heart. Then there's right livelihood. This is how you make a living. Do you earn money in ways that harm others, exploit the vulnerable, feed greed and division? Or do you find a way to work that supports life, that aligns with what you know is true and good? Right livelihood reminds us that how we feed our bodies shapes how we feed our hearts. Right effort is the gentle, steady work of tending your own mind. It's not harsh forcing or endless pushing. It's the wise effort to let go of thoughts that cause harm, to nurture what brings calm and clarity, to guard what is healthy and let go of what feeds suffering. It's like tending a small garden. Pulling out weeds, planting seeds, watering every day, not because you hate the weeds but because you trust in what can grow in their place. Right mindfulness is the art of staying awake. It's remembering, moment to moment, what you're doing, what you're feeling, what's happening inside you and around you, without judgment, without drifting into the past or future. Mindfulness brings you back home to now. It lets you see your thoughts and feelings without becoming their prisoner. It gives you a space between what happens and how you react. In that space, freedom begins. Finally, right concentration. This is steady, focused attention, the mind gathered like a calm lake, not scattered like leaves in the wind. It's the practice of deep meditation. The discipline that lets you see beyond your usual restlessness. When the mind settles, insight naturally arises. You see how things really are, rising, falling, changing. You see how suffering is born, and how it can fade when you stop feeding it. The Eightfold Path weaves all these steps together. It's not a ladder you climb once. It's a circle you walk. Again and again. Your view shapes your intentions. Your intentions guide your speech. Your speech and actions shape your livelihood. Your livelihood shapes the peace of your mind. Mindfulness and concentration keep all of it alive, fresh, awake. No one expects you to perfect all 8 overnight. You start where you are. One small step at a time. A kinder word today. A clearer intention tonight. A single moment of watching your breath when you could get lost in anger or worry. The Noble Eightfold Path is not a rulebook. It's a living way. Each step nourishes the next. Each mistake is a lesson. Each day is a chance to return to what you truly are beneath all the noise, a mind that can see clearly, a heart that can open wide. A life that can choose freedom, no matter how much pain there has been before. The Buddha did not say you must walk perfectly. He only said, walk. If you'd like, I can craft this into a short script version for a video, or add a closing reflection. Would you like that? Transformation is not eradication, it's renewal. So often when we suffer, we dream of escape. How do I get rid of this? We ask. How do I erase this pain, silence this fear, bury this grief so deep it never finds me again? We treat suffering like an enemy we must destroy, and when we can't destroy it, we feel like we've failed. But what if freedom doesn't mean erasing your pain? What if true transformation is not about cutting out what hurts, but about turning it into something new, something wise, something soft and strong at the same time? The Buddha never promised that pain would vanish the moment you walk the path. He didn't say, meditate, and you'll never feel sorrow again. He didn't say, practice mindfulness, and your heartbreak will disappear overnight. What he showed us is gentler, deeper, and far more real. Suffering can become the very soil that grows understanding and love. Pain doesn't need to be exiled. It needs to be seen, held, understood, and then transformed. Think of fire. Out of control, fire burns and destroys. But with care, the same fire cooks your food, warms your cold nights, lights your way in darkness. The fire hasn't changed, your relationship to it has. Your anger can burn you up from the inside. Or you can sit beside it, breathe with it, Listen for the deeper wound beneath it, and slowly, that same fire becomes the warmth of courage, the strength to set healthy boundaries, the passion to protect what you love. Your sadness can drown you in heaviness. Or you can sit with it gently, letting it soften your hard edges, teach you tenderness, connect you to the hidden sorrow of others. Your fear can paralyze you. Or you can turn and face it, see its shape clearly, and watch as it loses its power over you, becoming fuel for wisdom and careful steps. This is the heart of transformation, not wiping the slate clean, but rewriting the story with new eyes. Not pretending you're untouched by life's storms, but learning how to dance in the rain. Rooted and unafraid. This is why the lotus is such a perfect symbol in the Buddha's teaching. The lotus never tries to clean the mud before it grows. It doesn't stand at the edge of the swamp saying, "I refuse to bloom until all this dirt is gone." It sends its roots straight into the darkness, draws food from what most would reject, and out of that muck, it rises. It doesn't erase the mud. It uses it. So too with your suffering. You don't need to erase your past, your mistakes, your scars. You don't need to shame yourself for hurting. The only question is, what will you do with what you carry? Can you hold it without letting it poison you? Can you use it to understand yourself more honestly? Can you let it widen your heart so you see other people's pain with clearer eyes? The Buddha's path is not about pretending bad things never happened. It's about seeing the truth of what is here, and finding freedom within it. This is why the Noble Eightfold Path is so practical. Each piece is a tool for turning raw pain into understanding. Right view helps you see your suffering clearly. Right intention guides you to use what you see with compassion. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood help you share that compassion with the world. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration help you work with your thoughts and feelings without being trapped by them. Bit by bit, you shift your relationship with what hurts. It no longer owns you. It becomes your teacher. The greatest teachers are not always the pleasant ones. Heartbreak, failure, betrayal, loss, these carve deep channels inside us. At first they feel empty, hollow. But those same channels can fill with insight, with patience, with a tenderness you might never have known if life had only been easy. Nothing wasted. Nothing denied. Nothing cast out. Just life, seen clearly, used wisely. You don't have to wage war on your mind. You don't have to get rid of your sadness or anger or fear before you're worthy of peace. You don't have to scrub yourself clean of human messiness to become free. You only have to stay. To sit. To breathe. To look honestly at what lives inside you, without turning away. Some days, that's enough. Some days, just sitting with what hurts without feeding it more stories is already a radical act of freedom. You begin to see, this pain is not who you are. It's something passing through you, teaching you something you may not understand yet. When you're willing to listen, really listen, it can soften, shift, and open into a compassion wide enough to hold your own wounds and the world's. You become less afraid of life's sharp edges because you trust your heart's capacity to transform what they cut open. Transformation is not about perfecting yourself. It's about befriending every part of you, even the parts that tremble, rage, or ache. When you stop asking, how do I get rid of this? And instead ask, how can I work with this, learn from this, use this? Something changes. Slowly, what was once a prison becomes a door. The door opens inward first, and then, one day, it opens outward, too. Through it, you step into a world you can meet with both courage and care. Not because pain vanished forever, but because you learned how to make something beautiful with it. In the end, freedom doesn't come from wiping away every shadow. It comes from discovering that your heart is big enough to welcome the light and the darkness, and to grow something new. Right where you stand. When you suffer, don't despair, begin the journey. When suffering comes, it often feels like the end of something. The end of hope, the end of safety. The end of the story you told yourself about how life was supposed to be. Pain has a way of shrinking the world down to one sharp point: this hurts. I want it gone. I can't bear this. In that moment, despair whispers, this is who you are now, broken, lost, defeated. But the Buddha turned this idea inside out. He taught that suffering isn't the end, it's the beginning. The first truth. The doorway. The teacher that shows up when you're ready to see more clearly. On the path to awakening, he reminded us, suffering is the first teacher. It's not a punishment. Not proof that you're weak or flawed. It's life's way of calling you deeper into yourself, asking you to look, to listen, to wake up to something bigger than your pain. You are not weak because you hurt. You are strong because you're still here. You're strong because you've stood face to face with your own darkness and kept going anyway. No one wakes up and says, I hope today brings heartbreak and disappointment. But when it comes, and it always comes, sooner or later, you get to choose what to do with it. You can shut down, numb out. Build walls so high that nothing can touch you again, not even love. Or you can turn inward, breathe through the ache, and ask, what is this pain here to teach me? Every wound is an invitation. Every moment you think you can't bear is a doorway to a deeper truth about who you really are. Pain cracks open the shell of your old self. It shows you where you were clinging to something that could never last, an idea, a dream, an image of yourself that was never meant to be permanent. It shows you how strong your mind can be, strong enough to survive the storms, strong enough to hold fear and not collapse, strong enough to sit with sorrow without letting it drown you. When you hurt, you stand on the edge of a choice, despair or a new beginning. The Buddha's path begins right there, at that sharp edge. Not with denial, not with blame, but with a clear-eyed look at suffering, how it rises, what feeds it, how it passes away when you stop feeding it. Your first step doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to feel brave. It just has to be honest. Maybe today your first step is just to breathe. Maybe it's to cry without shame. Maybe it's to ask for help, or to sit alone in silence and feel your own heart beating. Reminding you, I'm still alive. I'm still here. The path doesn't ask you to be fearless. It asks you to be willing to feel, willing to stay. Willing to see what's really here under all the old stories you tell yourself. Little by little, pain loses its power to crush you. It becomes a teacher, a compass, a reminder that even in darkness, something inside you still wants to grow toward the light. You begin to see that no feeling is final. Despair passes. Anger softens. Grief ripens into gratitude for what was once possible. Fear dissolves into clarity when you face it with open eyes. Every time you sit with what hurts instead of running from it, you strengthen something deep and quiet inside you. This is the strength the Buddha pointed to, not the strength of pretending nothing touches you, but the strength of letting life touch you fully without losing your way. The Buddha did not awaken by hiding from suffering. He awakened by looking straight at it, birth, old age, sickness, death, and asking, is there a way beyond this? And when he saw that there was, he spent the rest of his life showing others how to walk that same path. His gift to us is not a promise that life will be painless. It's the promise that pain does not have the final word. The final word belongs to understanding, compassion, and a freedom that no sorrow can destroy. So if you're hurting now, don't waste your energy wishing it away. Don't believe the voice that says, this is the end. Let this pain be the beginning, the start of your journey home to yourself. Let it strip away what no longer serves you. Let it remind you how precious this fleeting life is. Let it deepen your kindness for yourself and for everyone else who struggles too. Your pain is real, and so is your strength. Both can exist at once. The lotus blooms because the mud exists. The heart opens because it has broken before. This is the quiet miracle, The same thing that makes you ache can make you wise. The same thing that brought you to your knees can lift you up softer, clearer, more alive than before. When you suffer, don't despair. Begin the journey. One breath. One step. One small, brave choice to stay awake, to stay open. To keep walking toward the freedom waiting inside you all along. Suffering is something no one can truly avoid. No matter who you are, no matter how many peaceful or stormy years you've lived through. There will come a moment when life places you face to face with pain, a loss, a heartbreak, a wound so deep you wonder how you're still standing. But if you're here now, listening to these words, maybe a part of you is ready to take your first gentle steps on the path of transformation. You're no longer trying to run away. You're no longer pretending that you're fine when you're not. You want to understand this pain. You want to learn how to turn it into strength, a quiet strength that softens your heart, deepens your compassion, and gives you peace even when the storms outside keep raging on. Remember, you are not alone. Somewhere under these words, in a simple comment from a stranger, you might find someone who has walked through exactly what you're walking through now. And maybe, just maybe, your story, if you choose to share it, will become a tiny light for someone else, lost in their darkest night. So if you feel ready, leave a comment below. Share a piece of your journey, or just a single line about something you're trying to overcome right now. Sometimes, writing it down is enough to remind you, I'm still here. I'm still moving forward. I'm learning to understand and heal, one breath at a time. And if what you've heard here today, these lessons from the Buddha, these reminders about mindfulness and the Eightfold Path, if any of it has touched your heart or made you feel a little stronger, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Each week, we'll meet here again, returning to this quiet space in the middle of a noisy world, to keep learning how to walk through suffering. Not with bitterness, but with compassion and clear understanding. As long as you're here, as long as you're willing to listen, willing to see, light will always find a way back to you. Thank you for being here, exactly as you are. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.